Hi.
Hi.
Oh my gosh, it's so good to see you.
It's amazing to see you too. I was really, really stoked to do this with you and just to reconnect.
I know, me too. And it's funny because I know I reached out to you like last week about doing a live of some sort. And in my mind, I had like no idea what I wanted to talk about, but I just like felt called to really reconnect with you.
Hmm.
And then just like yesterday, I was like, duh, this is what we should talk about. So it's like all coming together and it'll be good, I think.
Yeah, I love it's so interesting because I have like really amazing like things lined up that just so happen to be like synchronistic, aligned with the full moon today. So I
Yeah.
think it's a powerful time and it's not a coincidence. So
Yeah, not at all. Where are you right now? Where are you quarantining?
yeah, I'm in New York City.
Okay, so you're still in Manhattan. Cool. Have you been there the
Yeah,
whole time?
I went out to New Jersey for the weekend, but I'm back in New York.
Okay. What's the city like right now?
It's actually not bad. Like it feels really, the sun is so beautiful and strong today, so the energy feels a little better. It feels like it's lifting a little bit. There's still people that I notice are afraid but I do feel like the energy is lifting in New
Yeah,
York.
that's good.
Yeah, it feels
I
more promising. Where
yeah.
are you?
I, I'm in the suburbs outside Boston right now. So I'm in Wellesley, Mass. Been staying at my family house, my parents' house, where I spent most of my youth years. Which I've been very blessed to be here because we have access to a beautiful backyard and the woods, and I've been going on nature walks pretty much every day, and very grateful for that. And also just to be with family as opposed to quarantining alone. So I definitely feel for people who are like in New York City studios right now.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
It's
um
lovely.
but not being in a city, I mean, there's still people that I pass like on walks and things, and we don't, I guess the quarantine doesn't feel so heavy hearted
Mm.
because like I think in cities it's more apparent because they're usually so hustle bustle that like having the streets probably be relatively blank can be really like kind of haunting, probably in New York for
Oh, yeah.
sure.
I mean,
um
seriously, it literally felt like the apocalypse. Like I really was like, what? I've never seen New York like this ever, and I've been a New Yorker like since very,
yeah,
and it's just never ever been like this. And the energy was so dense, and I stepped out. I went to New Jersey for the weekend, and then when I realized, I was like, wow, New York is really, I can really feel the difference as I stepped away from it. But I do feel like a subtle change just this week. Like I'm feeling like people are just, people are fed up, and it's
yeah,
a long time of confinement, and so I'm feeling just a little shift in the energy. But it has been extremely dense and very different from being out in the suburbs and in the country, and where you don't get to feel the weight of it as much. And
yeah,
look, New York is the place that got hit the hardest, and
yeah,
yeah, you can really feel that, and then just the depression of the city as well. So yeah.
yeah. But I mean, as I've been sort of trying to maintain an attitude of this whole time that like obviously with there's duality in everything, right? So like with this negative energy that a lot of people are feeling, there's an equally powerful good and higher energy that's going along with it, and we can kind of choose which one we want to vibrate on, and oftentimes it's going to be both. And I think that's a lot of what we'll also touch on today is like I've definitely been experiencing both, but it's knowing and having awareness of that opposing higher energy that keeps me in more of an equilibrium place than just like staying low or spiraling.
Oh, I absolutely love that you said that. And I like got such a wave of, chills all over because there's so much foundation in that
Yeah,
is, the light and the dark, which has so much to do with this new full moon, the full moon that we're experiencing
yeah,
right now. The idea of like death and rebirth. And, if we can just keep our gaze and our focus on the light, the illumination, there's the antidotes of fear versus love, that there is so much fear in the collective right now, but if we can use the vibration and turn our energy towards love, it's so much over, it can really overpower the
Mm.
fear, and it can actually allow the fear to transmute into a way higher vibration, which I think is really the key, you know?
Yeah.
And so I just love that you brought that up. And I think it's really powerful.
No, yeah. Well, it's also coming from, you know, conversations that I've been having with anyone who I can sense it in their voice. They're hesitant to admit that they're grateful for this time. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that's something that's so huge to recognize. Like, I think there's a bit of guilt maybe in feeling any sort of gratitude for a time where so many are suffering. And I totally get that. But I think like when we're blocking ourselves from feeling what we're really feeling, that's going to make us feel even worse. And it all comes back to that duality thing. Like you can still be grateful and also feel compassion. You know, they're not like separate things. If anything, they're one and the same. And so you can still feel that for people who are maybe in a worse off situation, and still feel glad for whatever positives you're experiencing, whether that's like more family time or more time to just create and not be productive necessarily, or just feel into who you are and slow down, and all of these wonderful things that people are literally scared to admit that they're happy about. But it's that positive energy that I feel like, honestly, so much of this is that's the reason that we're kind of experiencing this. Like we need to be able to find these happy things, to have the heaviness lift. It's not going to lift and then the happiness.
Absolutely. Yeah. I love all of what you just said. And I think that this time has really, I keep saying it's giving us the opportunity to, you know, go inward and have that deeper connection with ourselves. Because it is a time where we've been pushed against our edges, where we've been almost been forced to look within, because our shadow aspects are going to start to come forward in those parts, that the unseen parts. And so can we work and utilize this time as the inner, you know, landscape to go inward, to work on those things, to connect to that, that part of you that perhaps has been, you know, distanced because of all the busyness and the distractions that we've been so, you know, preoccupied with. And so what a beautiful blessing to be able to connect back to our essence now, and
Yeah.
to work on the things that we want to work on, so that when we go back to whatever the normal is going to look like, our lives, we have, you know, really evolved in a way through this time.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely an evolutionary process, I think,
Yeah.
for everyone. And I keep saying, you know, I don't know when it's going to end or what it's going to look like when it does, but every day we're one day closer to whatever that is. But in the meantime, just embrace the chaotic now, because, you know, it looks like chaos looks this way in the moment. It's going to look a totally different way when this chaos is over. It's not, you know, it's not like there is a full end point. It's just like one day it'll wake up slightly different than the day before, but that's also every single day, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And
Yeah.
okay, cool. Yeah.
But today, full moon is tonight, and I'm so psyched to talk about this stuff, because as much as I like to think that I'm someone who is tuned into the, you know, the moon cycles and astrology and things like that, I'm honestly pretty hopeless, and I'm trying, but I need people like you in my
Oh,
life to really help me through it.
oh, okay. So, yeah, it's so interesting, because I feel like, you know, people think that they need to be like all spiritual and like,
Yeah.
you know, and that was like my post was like, you don't need to have like all this esoteric like paraphernalia to work with
No.
the energy of the full moon. So I actually facilitated something last night for these really beautiful mamas. It's like I was hired to do a private workshop, and it was so cute, because they were like, you know, curious about all these emerging like energies that they were feeling. And I'm like, full moon in Scorpio, like Scorpio is like the as Rose, my dear sister astrologist, Rose Theodoros, is, it's like the no bullshit, you know, sign. It's like the one that really is like very true, and you know, doesn't like to bullshit around, you know, or
Yeah.
so it's really like all these uh these emotions that are coming through the subconscious, you know, because this is how, you know, first of all, the moon is all about our emotions. And so these emotions that are coming through the subconscious are going to start feeling uncomfortable, like the ones that we are not happy about, like, or, you know, maybe some like anger coming up, or even like magnified fear or shame, things like that will start really like surfacing, and they're really going to make you feel more uncomfortable because of the energy that's coming through with this, you know, really powerful full moon. And so you know, as they were like, what's going on, you know, I was just laughing, because it's like, yeah, so if you're subconscious, you know, you're given like almost like this power, a very powerful energy to shine a light on those things that, you know, your subconscious is urging you to release or to work with, and allowing them to be there, just as you said, to work with, you know, what is it that I want to let go of, so that I can actually make space for something new in my life, and what is it that I want to actually illuminate within me, what do I want to amplify. And that's really how we work with the full moon. It's just very simple in a way. It's like, you know, it's giving you a chance for the death, for the rebirth, you know, for this new chapter, basically, in a nutshell. And so when you can tune into, I think it takes intention, you know, it's really important to just, you know, get a little quiet, you know, try to figure out like, what is it that that really is not serving me anymore in my life. And you can do, there's many different rituals that you can create for yourself. And when I say a ritual and a ceremony, you know, that can sound intimidating too. It doesn't have to take like, you know, 4 hours to create a ceremony. You can do this in a few minutes. But really get, you know, get in touch with what your intentions are, and create that intention for your ritual. And, you know, spend time, I would say spend time in, you know, with your journal, or, you know, in meditation, even like a little tea time where you're just quiet, and you're maybe even walking in nature, where you're kind of like getting in touch with the things that haven't felt like they just need to die. They're like, you know, they need to go. And so once you get in touch with that, you can do kind of like a journaling ritual. There's many different rituals that I can, you know, offer. But you can do like a, you know, just a very simple journaling of the things that you want to let go of. And then you can do like a fire ceremony, where you're just like burn it, and you say, I release, you know, these beliefs, I release these emotions, I release these lower ways of being. And I'm creating the space, I'm purifying to create the space, so that I can, you know, make space to illuminate and empower, you know, more abundance in my life, or more courage, more self-love, whatever it is that you're ready to call into your life.
Cool.
Yeah.
And when you say fire ceremony and burning, can that also be like the like actual burning action of like writing them down and burning them over a candle in a safe place, of course, like that kind of thing?
Absolutely. You can, you know, like burn the pages of a journal.
Yeah.
I like to also, you know, do some things in nature, and like doing, you know, I'll actually work with nature, and like do a burial, like in a way, and send it away. And then you give an offering to the plate, you know, the land of where you're, you know, creating this little ceremony as well. I'm always a big fan of like working with sage and my Palo Santo, and so like,
yeah, got that too.
Yeah. So, you know, you're pretty aware of how to work with the sage and the smudging, and you can actually smudge yourself of like, you know, cleansing all of these lower vibrational energies that you're ready to let go of. But then also the space, because we're wanting to actually clear out and purify the space, clear energy, and then also charging it with what you want to actually bring into the space. And so this is how we work with energy, you know, basically like noticing your energy when you are in fear, or when you're in like those lower vibrations, and then, you know, tuning into that energy and saying like, I want to let go of this. We can actually do different things, even, you know, aside from like the using the incense. I like to do visualizations of cleansing my energy with uh, like a cleansing shower, taking a salt bath, you know,
Yeah.
doing meditations to clear my energy. There's one actually on my link into bio where it says clearing energy, guided meditation.
Cool.
And so doing things like that to clear and purify, and then also to now charge your energy and illuminate, amplify all of the attributes that you want to like really bring into your life as well. So we can do a journaling ceremony with the burning of the pages, and you know there's lots of, we can also work with the calling in the goddesses because it's a full moon.
Ooh, talk about that. Yeah.
Yeah, and so the full moon has to do with coming into wholeness and calling in the you know the divine feminine. It's a time where you know it's really about abundance, and it's about all of the goddess energy. So I would say, like, for example, if we were to call in the goddesses, let's say, of fertility, or, you know, of abundance, Lakshmi, and, you know, you start to, what you do is you really get in touch with you know, you'd want to research which goddesses there are. There's so many. And then you'd want to bring that energy into your aura, like your, you know, your energetic field in a way, and you start to connect to that for more creativity and more.
How can you do that? How can you pull that in?
So I would say that it would take like, again, everything is like with intention, and you know, learning about the goddess, and I would say, you know, like, try to do your research about which goddesses like you feel connected to, and then you would want to, like, for me, it's always about, you know, meditation, when I'm in a lying down meditation, and asking, you know, for that energy to be kind of like infused into your own energy, you know, and the merging, and you know, it's just about connecting to that essence within them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
But I think it's important to also, you know, just connect to your own energy in a way of like claiming your authentic essence, you know, as far as like who you truly are, and, you know, getting away and dismantling from all of the, you know, I should be this way, and the things that we've taken on, all the conditions and so on and so forth, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think even too, like, as it relates to getting further in touch with your spiritual self, whatever that looks like for you, I think even with that, there can sometimes come this feeling of pressure of all the things I should be doing in order for it to be effective. Like we were saying, like, it needs to involve like crystals and sage and like all of these things, but like those are just sort of extras to help you, like like tools in the process.
Yeah.
But really, like, all it really takes is that intentional, you know, showing up basically, but being intentional with the way that you're choosing to shift your energy. And if those tools help you, amazing. But if they're going to like hold you back, like, you don't use that as an excuse.
Yeah. I mean, I think that I was going to say, you know, I work with crystals. I have like a huge collection, and I think it's really beautiful to work with some crystals as well. You know, if you do feel called to, it's a good time to charge your crystals. It's a good time to clear them, and then to actually, you know, charge them and infuse them with like what the intention that you want to bring into your life. So if it's, you know, for more abundance, maybe there's a citrine crystal that you'll work with, and you'll, you know, set the intention as you're charging that crystal under the full moon, which could be, I mean, it's super powerful. But again, I think it's so important to, you know, really be focused with your intention, and not be all over the place, like not to be like, take like 400 crystals and like, and write down like 400 different like, intentions, like really be focused with what it is, and allow it to be there to be more quality than quantity. And I think that can really be super powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think even too, like if you're feeling like there's so many things coming up at once, like that alone can be something to explore. Like, why is it that you're feeling all of these things at once? And like, where is that like sort of scatteredness coming from? And like, make that be your intention, you know?
Absolutely. And I think that that's why, breath work is so powerful too, because it really helps us to get clear where we can feel really scattered, and we can feel like, there's just so much going on that we get so overwhelmed. And then if we can just, clear all that noise and get much more in touch with our actual soul, then we can actually start to feel, oh, like this is really, what really needs work, what needs like letting go of. And then, and, the desires start to come in, and the desires start to like, just show up, and, or what you're calling and what you want to call in, and
Yeah.
so that's, it can be really powerful to just allow yourself to work with the unconscious through breath work.
Yeah. Is there a breathwork exercise that you would suggest particularly for full moon ritual?
I mean, my breath work, it's like last night was so powerful, and so this is like the 3-part transformative breath work. So what we're doing is we're breathing in from the belly and the high chest, and then breathing out through the mouth. And I think you experienced this in a session, remember?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. And what happens is we're actually, working with the unconscious, bypassing the controlling mind, so that we can pull up lots of stored energy in the body that we're not even aware of. And we can also access different states of consciousness through this, and experience more of a mystical experience where we're really connecting to our soul. And, it's just really beautiful, because you get so many answers and so much more clarity and innate wisdom that comes through from your higher self.
yeah.
Through that. So, I do have a breathwork audio in the shop on thejoyfulapproach.com. And I would say definitely it's a great time to, immerse in the breath work under the full moon. Really powerful. And then after, just to do some journaling and, to work with it throughout this, even like the first, the month, because Venus is going to go retrograde too, and that's going to be tough too. We might even start feeling that, where, Venus is all about love. And so we have to work a little harder now to really claim more self-love, more self-care practice, to really, fill that void of, you know, the void of Venus not being there. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So can you first explain for those of us who are total novices, like what a retrograde even is, like what that means that Venus is in retrograde?
Yeah. So the first thing that I need to say is, like, I'm not an astrologist, and
Yeah.
but a retrograde is like when it's opposing. So it's actually the planet is going retrograde, which is, that's why they say like Mercury retrograde, like people they have no clue, is like when anything goes upside down and anything, goes wrong, they're like, oh, it must be Mercury is retrograde. So it's like when that planet is, opposed and going the other way, let's say, right? And so you would feel that, you'll feel like almost like, where, why am I feeling like that lack right now of love, or where there's momentum, like in that. So I would say, last year I did a Venus, I created a Venus altar. Rose Theodora, she guided me with this beautiful time to work with Venus and bringing that in, and creating an altar. And just calling in that love and more love practice. So it's just a time where you're going to want to work a little harder and, you know, create more intention around that, around self-love.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, yeah, especially as you were saying, like in tandem with sort of the themes of this full moon, like that can sort of manifest initially as a lot of probably self-doubt and
Yeah.
like a lot of sort of heaviness, that can also be very easily mixed up with everything that's going on circumstantially right now. But that's like the call to action to step into that like next level of self-love. And
Yeah.
um um but also, I mean, I think even the topic of self-love can sometimes be taken like a lot of like really fluffy. I
Yeah.
think that there's not often a lot of um you know compelling terminology behind it, in a sense that we can really harness it in the way that we want to without like kind of kidding ourselves.
Yeah.
So how do you really define sort of self-love and the self-love practice, and sort of really work with that in tandem with the energy that you're experiencing without kind of like shoving it under the rug, you know?
Yeah. Okay. So I'm just laughing because I recorded I'm starting my own podcast. It's going to be launching any minute.
Oh my,
So I'm really excited.
amazing.
So the second episode is all on self-love, and I really break it down. And I think because I think it was the most important topic that does get thrown around so easily.
Yeah.
And, you know, and so, and you're 100% like spot on, because self-love is so important, but I think it's really misunderstood. I think what self-love really has to do with is, you know, self-acceptance, like
Yeah.
fully accepting all of our, you know, all of our parts, you know? And
Yep.
so, you know, again, so aligned with all of this, you know, this full moon in Scorpio, and where the shadows want to come in, and, you know, and so when we can really fully accept ourselves wholly, we come into wholeness. We really appreciate and love ourselves no matter what F is going on, you
Yeah.
know? And that to me is all about self-love, because it's like I'm not only going to love myself when I'm great and I'm like getting it all done. It's like
Yes.
even the times that get tough, even the times that get messy and dark and yucky, and you know, and can I still be compassionate, and can I still love myself? And why we haven't, why it's, you know, for those of us that, you know, it's taken a long time to come back to that wholeness, you know, that's the big question, like what the mystery and why it's taken so long to come back to that, to return to that love, you know. And for those that are still struggling with it, there are just so many conditions and things that, you know, have taken over. And I think society and conditioning and parenting and all the things that, you know,
Mm-hmm.
have caused this web, it just needs, you know, attention, needs attention. And we need to just do our work on a continuum, you know, having a daily practice, have
Yep.
just, you know, some tools in place so that we can call that love back to ourselves and to return to that beautiful love and come into wholeness.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So beautifully said. And I completely agree. Like self-love is, to me, it is self-acceptance and it is self-compassion, and it's having that, you know, regardless of how I'm feeling, and, you know, recognizing that the goal of all of this, you know, personal growth work is to not in the end be at a place where I am eternally happy. And
Mhm.
that, again, like going back to this idea that, you know, um, you can still be grateful and joyful and still have sad moments. You can do both of those things at the same time. They're not mutually exclusive. And being there for yourself to hold yourself in those moments where you are feeling lower energy, and being grateful for that part of yourself that can still show up. Yeah.
So beautiful. And I'm in such alignment with that, because I always say, you know, we can still, we need to express when we're not feeling, we know we need to feel our feelings. And
Yes.
even through sadness, even through grief, even through the darkness, we can still experience joy, and we can still experience that love, like at the same time. And
Yeah.
important to realize that even as, you know, things can feel really serious now with this inner transformation that we're all embarking on, or a lot of us, we can still laugh, we can still have fun, we can still play through it. We can see that it doesn't need to be as heavy all the time, and it's important to have that balance.
Yeah.
So I'm sure, I'm so curious that we have so much to catch up on. Like what I'm thinking or assuming is that, you know, you've had so many opportunities to experience all of this, Meredith, like through your journey. And oh my gosh, what, like I'm still like blown away by, you know, all of it, and, you know, your travels and your courage. And so I wish we had to talk about that, you know, and how.
I know. I mean, I don't even know what time it is. My phone is my clock, and I like can't even see. But yeah, I mean, it's been a whirlwind. Trips, travels. I've because I don't think I've seen you since I initially left New York, so it's been about a year.
Right, believing.
Yeah. Man, I first went off to Europe for like 5 months, which was incredible. Learned so much about myself, but about like just what I feel like it means to find fulfillment in things that are outside yourself, and that, you know, what I think initially surprised me, but also I shouldn't have been surprised really, was just like the level of happiness and joy that I was seeing in people who had no idea that wellness was a thing, who were just, you know, living their life to the fullest and pursuing the things that made them happy and joyful. And, you know, that wasn't necessarily like doing their passion for their career, but they made time for their passions. Yeah. And, you know, coming to this understanding that I think, especially with the rise of like entrepreneurship and like people, you know, not succumbing to the type of, you know, career relationship that a lot of people are trapped in, where it's just like this like 80-hour work week and they're like dead at the end of it. And so, you know, you should, you know, what you're going to find your happiness basically doing for a career what you love. And I think that's like an amazing mentality shift for people to have and wake up to, and realize that like life is not about this 80-hour crushing, soul crushing job. And that's such an awesome realization. But I also think that like, and I even got caught up in this too, that there's like a pressure that like, if I'm not doing for my career what I'm super passionate about, then I'm like doing it wrong. And I like need to force my passion to be my career. And I think that's also a trap. And throughout my travels, like I sort of was dealing with a lot of this kind of opposing forces of being really drawn to the work that I've been studying and intuitive health, and you know, cultivating a sense of spirituality for myself that I could also sort of share that story with others, but at the same time feeling a little bit of a resistance to that work. And because I think I had the pressure on myself for it to give me something in return, and like to fuel my life and, you know, sustain me financially. And that sort of pressure was keeping me from actually showing up to it in the way that I wanted to. And so at this time, one of the things I've been super grateful for now that I'm home and I'm here is really spending my time doing the things that I really loved doing when I was young, that I got out of touch with because I was super focused on like this one passionate thing becoming, you know, my life's work. And getting back into music, teaching myself the piano. I have watercolor paints on my floor right now that I was doing yesterday, and just like, you know, bringing that creativity back in to remind myself that I'm a multi-passionate person. And that I think so long as we're prioritizing our passions on at the same amount, if not more so, than our careers, then I think that that's where we can really start to find the joy and ease in life. It doesn't necessarily have to be our career. I think we shouldn't be miserable at our work for sure, but it also doesn't have to be like everything. And I think it's actually healthier when we have other things to complement that. So I think that's been one of my biggest takeaways, and what that means for me and my career path going forward, I'm still figuring out, but also realizing that I have so much time regardless of how old I am, and that, you know, it will sort of work itself out so long as I keep answering to those calls of curiosity and creativity that are just like knocking at my door. So
Oh, that's so beautiful. Oh my God. I'm so happy I asked you the question, and and
I
it's
am too. I don't really know where that came from, but
no, so beautiful. And I mean, it really is very much aligned with, the Divine Mother. I'm like so tuned into Saraswati energy right now. You should
mm,
research Saraswati. I called her in when I was looking to initiate more creativity because I felt blocked with my creativity. And so,
mm,
it's all about the birthing of our womb that we are creating. And so you just sound like you're there, and it's like beautiful, and created that space for yourself where there's a lot of like the masculine energy with the productivity and like getting things done and having all that pressure.
yes.
Then you just like let the air out of the tires, and you allowed all of that to just let go and get back to your essence, get back to your inner child, and just allow for all of that freedom so that you can start feeling that creative juice again. And then let's see what happens. And,
Yeah. Yeah.
so beautiful. Wow.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. It feels good for now to just sort of sit with that. And I think it's funny because this is like the first time that I really can say that I can't even attempt to start sort of making plans or thinking about what I want to do next, because I cannot say what that's going to look like. I haven't had like my own home per se for the last year, because I've been traveling nomadically. And before I came home here for quarantine, I was, really feeling like, okay, I'm ready to sort of find my place, settle down, and like build a yoga community from there, now that I'm like certified and can really dive
Yeah.
into that. And then like that sort of got ripped out from under me, and like I'm like, okay, whatever, going with it. Like eventually I'll be able to do that. But you know, I also I also don't know where that's going to be yet, and who's going to be there for it. And just as soon as I sort of let myself try to conceive of possible ideas, I'm like, this is the biggest waste of time, because it could look totally nothing like this in the end. And so just be present. And so this is really what it's doing for me, is just keeping me right here, right now. And like, I can't even think about what I'm doing tomorrow. So yeah.
Yeah. I love it. Oh my God, I'm excited for you. So just create your inspiration boards of things that you like, and who cares
Yeah.
about like how it's going. The architecture of it will just come together and morph once,
Yeah.
but yeah, you're doing amazing. I'm so excited for you. Wow.
Oh, thanks.
What an exciting time.
um, at the on the same topic of sort of like shedding the masculine and the feminine, I know one of the things that you wanted to touch on is like this idea of co-creation and tuning that into divine feminine. So if you have time, I'd love to talk on that
Yeah,
too.
if you have time, I'd love to touch
Yeah.
on that. I think this was like a really powerful initiation that, I kind of embarked on. I didn't realize it was happening, but I did. I feel like I've really awakened the divine feminine within. I think it's all started when I was like, just, I don't know, like on my way to Sedona. And then I had this, the full moon. It was just like a really powerful time. I went on this soul adventure, Sedona soul adventure. Was working with a medicine woman out there, and then it was under a full moon, and all of a sudden like my cycle came 3 weeks early, and I was like
Wow.
full moon. And I don't know, then I had this, I think I spoke about this with you on the podcast about like
Yeah.
conversation with Mama Earth, and it was just incredible because that's when things started to really awaken within me, and I started to feel all this beautiful empowerment and all this like aliveness within me, where things started to really come like into a more like into fruition, and but with abundance, but a very feminine energies. When I say feminine energies, I'm talking about like flexibility and spontaneity, and just very juicy, and like where you're feeling like desire in all the things that you do. And it was really starting to birth through me without realizing it. But then I
Yeah.
felt, when I say the co-creation, I'm like, I started to call in lots of the feminine, the wise feminine woman. And when I say elder, I don't mean like elder in actual physical age, but in knowledge. And all of
Yes.
a sudden, I was like surrounded by all of these beautiful, strong female, leaders, or whatever, like just that were almost like guides, but also like holding. And then I had the desire to actually create like some kind of co-creation, like a co-creatrix, I call it. And it was just so amazing because it started to really happen in a very organic way. And it's around the globe. And so like, you know, people, I mean, women from all over. And then I created a mentorship. I call it the Matrix, and there are about 9 women. They're just incredible ladies. And tonight's our mentorship meeting, and I just, you know, there's just so much, and we're all, I feel like there's just like this collective energy that's happening. It's a force right now where we're all like, I mean, even through Instagram, which is such a blessing, you know, we're just building each other up and we're supporting each other. Like you and I mean, here, you know, I was so stoked to you, and I was like following you throughout your journey, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm just sending you so much light and sending you so much.
Oh, I felt it.
I know I'm sure she's having some hard moments, but you know, she's doing it. And, you know, and I think this is really, really necessary right now more than ever, because that whole paradigm around the division and the divided and the me is dying. It's gone. It's really, and so it's really about the we right now, and it's about building each other up. It's, you know, about this time is giving us this opportunity to show up for each other and to support one another and to, you know, want the best for each other. And that's all birthed from the Divine Mother, that from the Divine Feminine.
Yeah. Oh, so beautiful. And I love this idea too of like communing with other women, particularly in such like a time as the full moon. Even I feel like that could be such a powerful way to really bring forth that intention. If you feel like that's something that you're open to even like sharing with a small group of your closest girlfriends, like if you all can kind of be like, this is what I'm working towards, like if maybe the spirituality part of it is a little bit hard for you to conceive and fully like buy into, like at least sharing something that you're working on can really be like an amazing way to have that be front of mind and also have that support from those that are in your circle.
1,000%. And, you know, and I think that, you know, start today, like just call sisters. I call them my sisters, my soul family, my soul tribe, help them, you know, say like, how can I support you? You know, go ahead and post them, or, you know, and then there's just like this beautiful exchange where you help each other out. And, you know, it's really beautiful. You know, also just to mention, if anybody's interested in joining a women's circle, there's so many always like around full moons and the full moon ceremonies that you can actually, you know, go into like Conscious City Guide and just look up, you know, full moon ritual, full moon ceremony. I know that tonight there'll be a whole bunch of them. And so, you know, just get on one and be supported. You know, there are so many priestesses and, you know, that want to hold these for us. And so it's a really nice thing to do tonight. Also, if you have the flexibility.
Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like I could keep talking to you for hours. I don't want to hold you up on your day.
No.
But it was so amazing to connect. I feel like we need to do this more often.
I'm so grateful. This was so nourishing and beautiful.
It was.
Hopefully we'll connect soon.
Yes.
More things, more topics.
Yes, please.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you for joining. Take care and be well.
Full moon blessings.
You too.